Okay, Zoom world. I think we'll just give it a few minutes and let everybody populate. The attendees are all coming. Hello, good morning.
See people coming in.
Welcome, everybody.
I can't see anybody.
Just talk to your phone. It's okay.
They're coming. They're coming. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying the sunshine. It's a pretty day out there.
We definitely need the sunshine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have to tell you, I don't know if he's in yet, but my most favorite social work professor signed up. So I was honored, but so excited to see that.
Who's that? Who's
Mel
that?
Chudnoff.
Who?
Mel Chudnoff.
That's
Amazing.
awesome.
He's such a good professor. So if you're out there, hi.
So tomorrow I'm gonna do my episode 2 of Some Shabbat Good News. And I'm gonna interview Rabbi Pam Silk.
Yay. Oh,
Yay.
what time? That's
Manuel,
great.
Houston, 2:30.
I love it.
Yeah.
I will be there.
So, it's interesting because Emmanuel it's a big congregation, and it's interesting kind of how they do things and how we do things because we're also such a large congregation, and I love her. So, yay.
So are we on yet or no? Am I still, am I muted?
You are not
we
muted.
can hear you.
Uh-oh.
Do you want me to mute you?
Mute me until it's time to go on.
Okay. You're muted.
So Judy Perlman just asked if we can see her, and the answer is no.
No.
We cannot see you.
So the difference between a webinar and a Zoom is that the webinar, you can only see the panelists. So you all can see Diane and Rabbi Kaluzny and myself, but we cannot see any of you. So don't worry.
Right. So I'm going to leave my chat box open.
Okay.
So, and I think Kari, you are as well. So if you have any thoughts or questions, we are going to do a Q&A at the end. So someone just said, I'm glad you can't see us. So we'll do a Q&A at the end. So if you do have a question, you can put it in the chat or just wait until we do the Q&A to put it in the chat.
And I think, let's see, we're a few minutes after 12. I'm going to unmute Diane. You are now unmuted, Diane. And I think just to respect everybody's time, we're going to get started and people will join us as we're going on. So hi, I'm Kari Provizer, the director of the Robert Sosnick Family Life Center at Temple Israel. And we are so thrilled that you're here with us today. This is my first webinar, so please bear with me. I'm going to try and manage all of this, but there might be a little lag, so bear with me. Rabbi Kaluzny told you if you hover down on the bottom, there is a Q&A area where you can ask questions. You can do that anytime during the webinar. I will see them and gather them and then ask them at the end after Diane is done presenting. We all know this is very unprecedented times, our new buzzword. I think I hear unprecedented 10 times a day, and we're all adjusting to this new normal. Our lives have been completely disrupted and turned upside down, even though, thank goodness, we're safe in our houses. But I think a lot of us are feeling anxious and angry and overwhelmed and a little afraid. So there's a lot of feelings and emotions. I feel like I've lost all normalcy. We have a fear of economic insecurity. We have a fear of losing connections to people. So there's a lot of general loss. I received a couple emails from people saying they haven't experienced a loss, but they wanted to be a part of this. Well, I think we've all experienced losses. Diane and Rabbi Jen will get into that a little bit more this morning. But these feelings of loss kind of remind us that we don't have any control of anything. And I think that lack of control causes anxiety, and it's a trickle down. So Diane will talk about all that. But we need to make sure we allow ourselves to feel the feelings. We have to accept and cope and move on, which we'll talk more about as well. But we have to feel what we're feeling so we can do that. You also might feel a little guilty and sad about missing things that maybe you think you shouldn't miss, like Starbucks or meeting a friend for coffee. Those are all losses that we have to feel as well. So we're going to talk about all that. We are going to talk about letting go of what we can't control and how to do that, because that's really hard. And all the conflicting feelings, like we want to get back to normal, but that's scary too. So hopefully we'll get to all that this morning. I'm going to turn this over to Rabbi Jen, and thank you all for being here.
So I just want to thank you, Kari, because you have carried this congregation. Oh, I love that. That did not occur to me till it just came out of my mouth. We are lucky that you carry our congregation. You have made an incredible list of resources in the midst of your own losses, and we can't thank you enough. We are very, very lucky. And I'm using the carry the congregation forever now, forever. So I'm glad to be here. And what I wanted to share just for a second is, what would Judaism say about us grieving losses that are not the death of a loved one? And so Abraham Joshua Heschel is my favorite Jewish philosopher. And he wrote a book called The Sabbath. And what he explained is that Jews usually don't create cathedrals in space. We create cathedrals in time, the Sabbath being the most significant of all of our cathedrals. And I think that right now, that is what we're talking about, right? So what could be a cathedral in time during COVID? Like Kari said, it can be anything from missing your regular morning coffee date to your teen not having prom or not having a graduation, or maybe you have a child that was a sports fanatic and no longer has their teams. Or maybe for you, the way that you got out your anxiety and exercise at the same time was going to a pool. There are so many things in our lives that have been upended. Our personal cathedral in time have been upended. And so I just wanted to make clear that Judaism absolutely recognizes these losses. And I'm so glad that we can get together to work through them, to talk about them and acknowledge them. And we are so lucky today to have Diane Rubinstein with us. She has been leading our bereavement support group at Temple Israel since 2013. She has been a clinical psychotherapist. She graduated from Wayne State University in 1984 and then worked for the Macomb County Mental Health as a clinical psychotherapist from 1984 to 2013 when she retired. Did we bring you out of retirement? I hope so. No?
No.
So she started a private practice actually and specializes in grief and loss, cognitive behavior therapy, and dialectical behavior therapy. So her specialty is helping people manage their emotions and learning about healing and wellness, which is exactly what we are all here for, healing and wellness. So we want to thank you, Diane, for joining us today, and I leave it to you.
Thanks, Rabbi Jen and Kari. And Kari, you do carry the congregation.
Forever. Kari carries our congregation.
That's it. That's the thing. Today, I'm here to talk about how COVID-19 has impacted our lives. It's not only impacted our lives with grief, but also with grief and losses, there's gains. When I was a little girl, my dad used to say to me, Diane, from every negative experience, there comes a positive. And I think that so much lately, there's been so many losses that we haven't even looked at any positive gains. We not only have collective grief, which is about the whole world, we have our own individual grief. And like Rabbi Jen and Kari said, there's weddings, there's financial losses, there's job losses, there's worried about loved ones, there's not being able to get food in your house. We have a friend that works on commission and doesn't have any money. So we provide, there's a group of us that we provide for him, his gas, we provide for him all sorts of things and food so he can sustain and keep on living. There's social distancings and quarantines and feelings of isolation. There's changes in daily habits and routines, special plans and events that have been canceled. clashes with family members over how to protect yourself. There's political issues that are going on that people are fighting with one another about. There's worries about how to pay the rent and utilities and other bills. Sadness over how the pandemic will affect the world, and fears for the future, which is called anticipatory grief. I do a lot of work with dialectical behavior therapy, and that is helping people manage their emotions. Because during this time, anxiety becomes escalated. A friend of mine said to me the other day, he said, Diane, what do you think is going to happen when this is all over? And I said, I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is I have control over the present. That when I start to think about what's going to happen, all of a sudden that fear comes up. We don't know what's going to happen. We listen to the media every day. We listen to all different stations. They're telling you all different things. I say to people, stop that. Stop listening. Listen to a little bit, because what happens is people get so overwhelmed that they begin to not decompensate, but they begin to become dysfunctional and immobilized by all this fear. You know, in our everyday losses, like Rabbi Jen said, we think of loss of a loved one. We don't think of loss of friendships, loss of being able to go out and take a walk with somebody, you know, loss of being able to have the freedom of going out and hugging people. I have people that say, I can't even go and see my grandkids because I can't hug them. I have a friend, she has a little 2-year-old. He went into a temper outburst because he couldn't hug his bubby. Those are real things. And then she had to sit down. She said to me, how should I explain it to him? And we sat down and we went over how to explain it to him. And little by little, she blew him kisses. She did things like that. She put her arms like this, but she couldn't hug him. And he felt, he didn't know what to feel, because at 2 years old, what do you feel? I have clients that say to me, you know, I'm home working. I have small children. One of my clients has 2 twins that are 4 years old and another one that's 7. What do? We both have to work. So we talk about setting up routines, setting up things that people can do, because routines are important. I know for myself and my significant other, we have a house that which I'm in right now, my office upstairs, and there's an office in the lower level. So we set up our own routine and we try to carry out those routines during the day, and we end up having dinner together or cooking together or doing something like that together. But otherwise, we're in our own routines until we meet up toward the evening. And by the way, I like this in a sense, because I never used to be able to have dinner with him because I was always traveling, working evenings and traveling back and forth. So one of the positives of this is that we don't commute, that we can do, like, I'm an essential worker. So that means I need to be working. And thank God for telehealth, because I can provide individual sessions and even groups through Zoom or through other telehealth kinds of things, and people will still get services. Insurance companies are still providing that and providing payment to that. But I have somebody that lost their job and not just somebody, several that have lost their job and they can't afford it. And you know the way I look at it is, I don't care if you can't afford it. You need to be seen. Stuff is going on in your life. I'll see you. That's giving back. That's the gains of knowing that you can be inside of yourself and give back to people in ways that we haven't thought about giving back. So life has changed, and life has changed both individually and collectively, because we can't do the things that we want. I was just telling Rabbi Jen and Kari before we came on, I'm grieving the loss of nails. I can't get my nails done. All of a sudden, since I'm 67 years old. I've had nails since I've been 16. All of a sudden, I'm looking, there's no nails. I'm thinking, what's happening? You can't go to the beauty shop. I'm waiting for the governor to open the beauty shop. But you know what? I also want to stay safe. And I want to be able to protect my family and protect people that I'm involved with. I have several people that say to me, well, do you think we have to wear masks? Yeah, you have to wear masks. Yes, you have to wear gloves. Yes, you have to change those gloves. Yes, you have to use hand sanitizer. Yes, yes, yes. And yes, you have to social distance. because this is the only way that we're going to get through this. And those are things that we can control. And that's what, so when I think about losses, we have a lot of losses. I have a friend, we were making a shower and we were going to have a wedding for her daughter. We can't have that now. But what happens is she says, what can I do? I said, you know what? Your daughter can still get married, can't she? And then when everything's open, you can still come back here and they can have a reception. It'll be different. So what's happening to a lot of people, we have to begin to think outside of the box. We can't just think in our own little box because times have changed. And we have to be able to take a look at what else can we do. I've had people say to me, you know, my kids aren't going to camp this summer. What am I going to do? That's a big issue because they work. So we talked about, well, maybe you can get somebody in to do like a day babysitter or something, to get somebody in to help your kids to do different things. There's ways that we can be able to do it. Well, I get people that say, you know, what am my routine? My kids are bothering me. What should I do? And I said, you know, you have to sit down with your kids and give them things to do during that time. But still, they need attention too. We all need attention. We all need to feel that somebody's out there to providing support to us. Rabbi Jen or Kari, do you have anything that you want to add?
I think all of your points are so valid, and we have to validate how everybody feels. It's all about validation and trying to accept it and move forward. And I know the camp issue is going to be huge. Our community has a love of camp, and I think that is going to be such a blow to these kids and the parents who are used to it. So we're all going to find ways to cope. I know I posted an article from Dr. Dan Klein yesterday talking about the silver lining in all of it. And we all have to find ways to find that silver lining. And we have to let go of what we can't control, right, Diane? I mean, that's a big part of it as well.
What happens is I teach a skill in dialectical behavior therapy. It's called core mindfulness. It's called being mindful. It's taking a look at the here and now and staying in the here and now. When my friend asked me what was going to happen in the future and how life was going to look, I don't have a clue. I don't have a crystal ball. And even if I did have a crystal ball, it changes from day to day anyways. So I don't have anything like that. So I said, okay, the only thing that I can do is take a look at what's happening in my world today. What can I control in my world today? And I also think that, you know, it's important, like Kari said, you have to feel the feelings. I tell people, allow the feelings to come in, recognize them, and allow them to move out like a floating cloud. If otherwise, what happens is you get them stuck, you can see my hand over here, in the rumination pit. And then when they're stuck in the rumination pit, they go around and around and around, and you can't allow new things to come in. And that isn't helpful. I know we all ruminate at times. We worry, especially about financials, because life has changed. People that were out there working and the economy was good, it's very frightening for them now. And everybody's trying to do, even our loved ones that are working on the front lines and healthcare workers and frontline workers, we're worried about people getting sick and what to do. And it goes back to, we can only control what's in our own environment. And we have to take a look at that. The other thing I teach is called radical acceptance. And with radical acceptance, it doesn't mean I like this. I certainly don't like this. I don't even like paying taxes, but I do. But the point is, I have to accept that this is going on now. So I teach a skill, it's called willingness or willfulness. Willfulness would mean I'm not wearing a mask, I'm not wearing gloves, I'm going out with people. Willfulness means that you don't make any changes to accommodate what's going on now. The willingness is saying, okay, this is temporary. We're going to get through this. So I'm going to do the necessary changes to get through this. It's not like radical acceptance isn't like, okay, I radically accepted and that's it. No, So, you know what? I don't like this. Who does like this? Nobody likes this. The only things that like this are my dogs. They love that I'm home. They're like, you know, they think it's the greatest thing that I'm home with them, that, you know, that I'm here for their every bark or their every whatever. But it's not the way I live, just like it's not the way most of you live. Another thing is, even when people, I have a friend who's been sort of a homebody, and I said to her, how are you doing? And she said, I'm doing awful. I said, what do you mean? She said, you know, I said, but you like being home. She says, it's a different story. I make a choice to be home. I don't have any choices. You know, I don't have that choice. So we talked about, what kind of choices do you have? And what can you do with the choices that you do have? Even though they're limited, what can you do? She called me up this morning. She said, you know what? You make a lot of sense. Believe it or not, you make a lot of sense, because they know me as joking around all the time. And I did something different today. I did something, and I feel like I have some control. And I said, great, because that's what it's about, because we don't have control. Somebody's telling us we can't leave our house. Somebody's telling us that you have to be in line at the, I mean, I went to Johnny Pomodoro's. I had to stand outside, went to Boneyard. Excuse me, Rabbi, I got pork ribs. But anyways, I went to Boneyard, and we were like 30 deep in line waiting to get in. So there's all sorts of things that we take for granted that we no longer can do. It doesn't mean we're never going to be able to do them. It just means it's temporary. And when people start to think this is forever, that's where fear-based accelerates. So I teach another skill. It's called opposite emotion action. When I start to get that fear base, I start to think to myself, opposite emotion action is when a feeling that you have isn't going to be helpful to where you are. So I do opposite to that. So when I'm starting to feel afraid, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? This is that, I start to think, what can I do right now? And I do an exercise, and I teach clients, and I actually start laughing for 2 minutes. I become hysterically laughing. I mean, anybody, Steve walks by and he looks at me, goes, what are you doing? I'm howling, hitting my legs, my knees. He says to me, what are you laughing at? The TV isn't on. He said, what's going on? He thought I was flipping out. I go, I'm doing a skill. I'm just laughing. And after that laugh, because laughing is like medicine to the soul. It really uplifts you. Of course, it gives you little lines here, but that's okay. It really uplifts you, though. And I find that after that, my emotions have come down. There's another skill I teach, and that's called, it's a form of mindfulness. But when your emotions start to get escalated, I'll start with this first. I'll teach people to take ice in their hand, ice cubes in each hand, sit down and close your eyes. And I want you for 2 minutes just to breathe in and breathe out and focus on the ice cubes melting in your hand. Now, people will say, thoughts come in. Okay, let the thoughts come in. Recognize the thoughts. I don't want you to repress them. Recognize the thoughts, and then let them go out, and then go ahead and go back to focusing on the ice cubes. The other thing I teach people to do is to close their eyes and get into a happy place where they feel peaceful. And for most people lately, where they feel they have a sense of power and control, because not only we've lost a lot of that. So with this collective grief, people think so, and really you haven't lost it. It's just regaining it in a different way. And I have them close their eyes, and for 2 minutes again, just breathe, focus on their breathing, but also focus on where their happy place is. And even if your thoughts roll off, just recognize the feelings and go back to breathing. The other one I do is when you take your hair and you slick it all back and you put your face in freezing cold water in your sink for 30 seconds. My one client said to me, do you mean 30 minutes? No, I don't mean 30 minutes, 30 seconds. What happens is, believe it or not, when you come out of that, your emotions have metabolized and come down. So you become at that point more able and have a clearer mind of what you need to do. So mindfulness, meditation, all of those things to keep going out for walks. Today's a beautiful day. Go out for a walk, go sit on your deck and breathe in the fresh air and let it, I go breathe in the positive, breathe out the negative, breathe in the positive, bring out the negative. Another thing that's really important is that, you know, we hear about all the people on the front lines. We hear about the healthcare workers. And what happens is that other people said to me, well, what about me? What about, I'm putting my part in too. You're right. Because not only do we lose part of ourselves, we lost our purpose. What keeps us moving? We've lost our purpose in life. And so to realize that the people that are staying home are also providing, they're also frontline workers, because the more people that stay home, we flatten the curve and other people can get better. So I want you to really know that those are gains to it. Like I enjoy cooking. I've been doing, you know, I haven't been able to cook for a long time. So now I'm cooking. Of course, I'm putting on weight, but now I'm cooking too. And you know, but what happens is it's important that you take a look at the things that you can control, because so much has been taken away from us that we want to regain those things. And it's important. It's important for you. It's important for your loved ones. It's important for your children. And it's important for all of us as we get through this.
So true, Diane. And I want to go back to what you said about staying present and remaining present. You know, I talk to the kids who are homesick at camp about that all the time, that we have to find a way to be present and stay in the here and now. And my dear friend Mona Shane always taught me not to look at the worst case scenario, try and look at the best case scenario and find balance in what you're thinking. Reframe your thoughts and don't let yourself go there. You know, one of the coping skills that we talk about is don't have the news on all the time. Don't be watching CNN in the background 24 hours a day. So all of the techniques and the coping skills that you just taught us, I can't wait to try the ice water one, are wonderful. And people are asking in the chat for a list of all of your coping skills. So hopefully we can get that.
Sure.
I also just want to direct all of you on our Temple website, on the virtual page. Off to the right are all of the Family Life Center resource videos that we have. Dr. Sofin did a wonderful one on coping with COVID-19 and mindfulness. Dr. Jen Green did a peace break. Matt Leonard, who does our adult health and fitness, did a little exercise video. So we have a grief and loss yoga with Gail Goodman that's going to be coming. So we're trying to post videos that if during the day you feel like you need one of those coping mechanisms, it will be there. So go to our website. We'll try to put Diane's list on there, as well as hopefully I can get permission from Dr. Dan Klein to put his article there, because that one's good too. So I just kind of wanted to circle back to that.
I want to say one more thing. The important thing also is, look, we're on Zoom now. We're on a webinar, but to have set up times with your friends and your family. I know we did a Seder on Zoom. I mean, you have to think outside the box. It was fun because I knew that we made good food. I wasn't sure what anybody else made. But, you know, it's to take a look at that. I play canasta, so I still want to play canasta. I go on Canasta Junction and play canasta with people, that we're still doing some of these things, that we're still reaching out to people and being able to talk to people, because isolation for most people is so hard. Even for people, I have one client who I said to him, how are you doing? He goes, this Zoom and house party and all of this is great for someone that's introverted. I can talk to everybody and not leave my house. So you know what? That's what the gains are. The gains are taking a look at what we do have and be able to utilize it and know that you're doing the best you can, and know that it's okay for you to go ahead and to be sad. Know that it's okay for you to go ahead and be anxious. Know that it's okay for you to have whatever feeling that you have, but to be able to help yourself to move through that feeling and not stay stuck in that feeling.
And don't be so hard on yourself. I'm talking to so many people, that extra pressure, give yourself a break. I know Rabbi Kaluzny and I talk about that all the time. We have to find some inner peace with all this. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but also please be kind to yourself.
And self-care is very important. Being able to get up, being able to take a shower, being able to take care of yourself, being able to be good to yourself. That's really important, because especially if you have children, if you're not being good to yourself and you're not taking care of yourself, you're the role model for your kids. And the message is, what's the message? The message is, I'm taking care of you, but I'm not taking care of me. You need to take care of you, because you're there to be able to provide for them, but you're there to be able to provide for yourself.
One thing that I'm finding, because I do have children at home, I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, is that I feel like it's important that I say I don't know, just like you said, Diane, when I don't know. You know, right. Every night at bedtime, when are we going to be able to hug Nani Papa? When are we going to have sleepovers? And I just keep saying to them, I don't know. And I miss it too. Like, I don't want them not to think that this isn't scary for me too, that it isn't turning my life upside down. And what's amazing is I tell my kids, I miss my parents.
Right.
Because I got to see them all the time also. So I think that I've probably said I don't know more in the past 7-8 weeks than I have to my children in a lifetime. But I think what I love about this entire session is that, Diane, your spirit and your energy is so upbeat that even in the midst of, you know, all of the losses, that you can find your smile, you can find your positive energy. And I already told you, one of my favorite things that you talked about was the rumination pit, because I joke that I am in it sometimes. But what I've told people when they've lost a loved one, or even now when I've talked to teens who are not going on graduation, they're not, you know, taking off for camp, is exactly what you said. I think the acknowledgement and to allow yourself to feel it and feel sad, feel that. But I love it. You can't get caught in that pit. You cannot get caught in the rumination pit. Don't deny your feelings, but don't get caught there, for sure. Yeah.
It's a bad pit to be in.
Bad.
It is.
I teach that in a bereavement class. They always laugh. I say, what do you think? They go, we know the rumination pit. They've known it now for all these years. But it's true, because that pit, it sucks you dry. So you have to just allow it. Listen, we don't like a lot of things that are going on. I'm not saying I love this, but I'm telling you, and I am high energy and I am a positive person, because I think, what else am I going to do? You know,
well, right. The alternative is being stuck and being scared. And those two things don't help yourself and they don't help anybody else.
Well, you know what? I think it's okay that you get stuck for a minute. I think it's okay that you come in and you go, I'm stuck. But it's also okay, and you allow yourself, I'm stuck right now. You give yourself, you move away from that, do something. I teach another skill that's called the stress tolerance. And that is thinking about things that you can do to move away from that feeling, acknowledging that feeling, but moving away to do something. I don't care if it's brushing your teeth. That's something that you can do to move through. It's moving away from it so you don't get stuck.
But redirect yourself.
Right. But I love that you just said moving through. I talk about that all the time. If you're truly upset about something, just saying get over it, I don't think that that's helpful.
It's
but
not.
Moving through it, with all the acknowledgement that has to happen, I think is so much more helpful than saying, well, I just have to get over it, you know?
You know what I'm finding? I'm finding that people, I work with a lot of families and I work with a lot of couples, and people have to be home with one another. I mean, they just do. And I'm finding that I do a lot of work with effective communication and, you know, acknowledging feelings. And I'm finding that couples that before weren't doing so well are actually doing better now.
Oh,
but, you know, but it's also, there's a lot of too much togetherness. So you have to find other ways to sort of separate yourself in your house a little bit. Even if you live in a smaller house, go to a different part of the room, do something like that. But embrace where you are, because we have a roof over our heads, we have food on our table, or if we don't, we're going to help somebody. We have the ability to get to the grocery store. Like, I'm in the sisterhood at Temple Israel, and they gave us a list. We called 20 people a week to see how they are. My one lady, I call her, she says to me, "Dear, are you doing okay? Are you aware that you keep calling me?" I said, "Yes, I am." And she laughs. She goes, "Are you going to call me again? Let me write it on my calendar." But she looks forward to it,
of course,
because she's shut in, and I make sure that she has food, or I make sure that, and if I have to reach out to other people, and some of the other people, the other sisterhood people are telling me that they have people on their list that are grieving, that they're going through a lot of things, and would I call them? Of course I'll call them. But you know something, it's important that we all take a look at what we can do for ourselves and how to get through it. Meditation's a big one. People meditate in many different ways. You know, so there's lots of things, and I bet if we all wrote lists, we would be surprised how many things that we do to make it through here. And laughter is a key. And I'll tell you, I like comedies, because comedies keep me up and moving. Something that's too serious, I have to be in the mood to watch it. So I make sure that I watch comedies every day.
See, now we know your secrets.
So can I just add one thing? Because, you know, the whole rabbi thing, and people are talking about it in the chat.
And I want to get to the questions too.
Yeah, I've been trying to answer some of the things in the chat, but, you know, I've been so truly humbled by the response to our Shabbat services, to our programming, to Sunday Morning Minyan. People who that was never on their radar are making sure they never miss Minyan, they never miss services. We have, I mean, my heart explodes when people send us pictures of them sitting at the table, having lit candles. They made challah together that day. And they said, our kids are home from college. None of the factors leading up to that are what anybody would want, but people are finding Shabbat. They're creating cathedrals in time, and people who have found spirituality, if they call it that, or maybe they've realized that they can find a connection to whatever it is that they want to call God or the energy, whatever you want to call it. It's been so incredible to see that happening, and all of the rabbis and cantors are very humbled by everyone sharing that with us. And if we can be helpful in that in any way, please just let us know, because it's just been wonderful to see that happening.
We love that.
Yeah.
So I want to get to some of the questions. I know we have a couple moms with young kids, and there's a huge issue with finding your personal space, having privacy when you're in your home, and the self-care. How do I take care of myself when I'm taking care of a 4 and a 6-year-old or a 7 and a 9-year-old, and I can't get my nails done, or I can't go get a massage, which was my outlet. Diane, I don't know if you want to address that. We have to take time outs. We have to find time to take a nap, to take a bath, to read a book, go sit outside. Diane, you may have other examples of ways for self-care.
Well, I think it's important that you let your kids know that we all need our own little time, and what's going to be good. What would you like to do now? Because, you know, I always say, you've got to take a time out. I'll say, you know what? I'm going to take a time out, and I'm going to go over here for 15 minutes. You put the, you know, timer on. I tell my kids
that all the time. I say, Mommy's in time out.
Yeah.
And then I walk away.
Right. And you walk away as long as you can, as long as, if there's older kids, they can sort of respond to some of that and watch them. But you need that time, because you need to breathe. You need that time for yourself, not to feel guilty, although people do feel guilty. And I always say to somebody, guilt is when you deliberately do something to harm somebody. By you taking out time out and letting your children know that they can be independent enough and that you trust them, that they can be over here while you're over here, is giving them a really good feeling. So you're not hurting anybody. It's not that you're not giving to them. You can't give to somebody 24 hours. It'll deplete you. You've got to take something back for yourself. So the only one that you're harming at that point is yourself. So it's important. I like me, I'm going to take care of myself. And that's important. It doesn't mean that you're going to push them aside for 30 minutes, but let's say they decide to take a nap. Then you have a little bit more time for yourself. So, but think about ways that you can do that, because it's important that because you're teaching them about how to take time for themselves. You're teaching them about self-care for their selves too. Or you can even do, like, we did it with a friend of mine and her little friends. Everybody was, they tell me, Aunt Diane, we're going to paint our nails. Okay, so we all did it on Zoom, painting our nails. Trust me, they did a much better job than I did, staying within the lines. But
Someone's
you know what?
about her nails. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I am ruminating about it. I look at them, I think, oh my God, what happened?
I know.
But you know what? The mother went somewhere else and I took care of it on the phone.
Right.
And it worked.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to you, there's lots of different ways. You just have to really think out of the box.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it goes back to being kind to yourself and taking care of yourself. We have some more questions. Let's see. For Diane, can you just quickly review the strategies? The ice cold water on the face for 30 seconds.
No, not on the face. The ice cold water, what you do is you pull your hair back, you stick your face in freezing cold water in the basin, in your sink. Count to 30. I usually have people do it for 60, but we'll start with 30. If it doesn't work for 30, then you put it back for another 30. Now, I do have people that will take 30 seconds, and then if it doesn't work, they'll jump in the freezing cold shower. And then they come out after they're saying things under their breath about me, and they'll say, it did work. I didn't want to tell you, but it did work. It's a way of metabolizing the anxiety and bringing it where you can manage it. And it also is for clarity of thinking, because once you're in that emotional mind and that anxiety mind, you're gone. All you are is thinking about fear-based things and what you don't have. But when you metabolize that energy and that anxiety, you can, at that point, make a concrete decision of what the next step is for yourself.
I love it.
Nice.
And there were a couple more. You said the breathing in and out.
Right. And I do another thing where you breathe in, count to 4, I'll put it on, I have a thing that it shows you what to do, but you breathe in, count to 4, breathe in the positive, out the negative, breathe in the positive, out the negative. And just because what you want to do is you want to get rid of those negative feelings and you want to bring wellness feelings in.
Love it. And also I'll just reiterate, Dr. Sofin has a mindfulness video that's on our page, as well as Dr. Jen Green with the Peace Break. And telehealth, teletherapy is the new thing. I know because Diane's so busy.
Right.
Mona Shane, all of our therapists who we have are willing to see and to help and to get you through this. And Diane, we are so grateful. Thank you that you took the time today to do this for us, because I know how crazy.
So grateful.
You know what? This was a pleasure for me, because I like to impart to people that you have control. And it's important for you to take a look at what you have. Go deep inside and take a look at what you have, because you have a lot more than what you think you do.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
We have another question that I know Rabbi Jen and I have talked about. Suggestions for people who see others being so productive during this time, and someone else who has no motivation, is feeling unorganized. I said, like, there's no balance. There's no happy mediums. There are those of us who are insanely crazy and can't take a break, and others who I talk to who are sad and unmotivated and bored and can't seem to find that spark. So that again goes back to the balance, and try not to take you to that worst case scenario, that worst place. Do a little something every day. Try making baby steps, you know, maybe clean out a junk drawer or go outside. Maybe for some of you, you haven't been outside at all. Go take a walk. We have to start trying to take baby steps to motivate ourselves again. In a couple weeks, we're going to do a session on anxiety and re-entry, because I know I'm hearing from a lot of you that fear of going back to whatever normal is going to look like is scary. A lot of people aren't comfortable walking out of their houses. So we will talk about that.
There are some great podcasts also. There are some great apps that can take you through meditation, like Calm. Calm is a wonderful app.
Headspace is good too.
For sure.
Right, so even if you are a total novice, which I would say I'm not a big meditator, there are apps that can walk you through it. So I think there's a great ways to use technology to our advantage right now. And conversely, like you said, Kari and Diane, like turn off the TV. Like the TV, no matter what you're watching, it may not be good, because if you're sitting all day, get some oxygen, get some fresh air, you know. I agree. I'm just so happy we did this. I'm so happy we did this.
Thank you so much for inviting me to do this.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Kari.
Oh, you are so welcome. And we're so grateful you're all here and joined us. And I know there's a lot of talk about nail polish, Diane, and people giving you nail polish at the bereavement group. I don't know. So the article that Dr. Dan Klein wrote, I will just get his permission, and hopefully we will put that on the Temple virtual page where you can find all the other articles and videos that I talked about. I also posted it on my Facebook, and I know it's on Dr. Dan's Facebook, so you can look there. I just want to make sure there's no other.
Did we cover everything?
Well, there's one more question. Can you address, if you lost someone but weren't able to have Shiva or funeral, that feeling of isolation? Rabbi Jen, I think I'll let you.
Okay. So there's one thing that I can say for sure, and that is that Judaism really knows how to care for Jews when someone passes away. We have to recognize the death, that it's real, because we bury our loved ones almost immediately. And what we've realized during this time is that we can't get close enough to even help someone with a ribbon. We can't give hugs. And after the cemetery, I was just with a family that was brokenhearted, because they said, now we have to get in our cars and all go home. And so talk about acknowledging something. I think we must acknowledge that this is not how we grieve. This is not how we mourn. And it's okay to be upset even that you can't be comforted with hugs from someone you do not live with. That people are even struggling. We're used to sending food, and some people aren't comfortable with that. So I think that's one of the situations where we can absolutely acknowledge this is not the way we grieve. Now, on the other side of that, that's when, you know, I have suggested that you do use something like Zoom to your best advantage. We have wonderful Shiva Minion leaders, a couple of which have gone technical and have been conducting Zoom Shiva Minions. And our leader last night said that he left the Zoom open and people stayed and chatted for over an hour. So that is something that I would recommend. It's also a time when you can still get help, the help that you would get during a Shiva period anyway from your friends. If you don't want to go out into the world, don't. Have someone else grocery shop, have someone else pick up medications, have someone else manage all of those things. And the other thing that I would add, and Diane, I'm sure you have other thoughts, is this is one of the things that I think deserves some time off. You know, it's easy to just say, well, I work from home now, so I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to keep working. You need to acknowledge that you lost someone you love. You need to take time away to give yourself time to grieve and the space to grieve before you even try to go back to what is already not normal. We're already not living the way we're used to. So I think that's a time that you have to really acknowledge how you're feeling and allow yourself to feel that way. What do you think?
Go on, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You have to allow yourself to feel that way. Otherwise, you don't heal. And going through grief like we all are, I'll talk to people. I mean, we're going through individual and collective, but when you go through grief of losing a loved one, and it's especially because a lot of people couldn't even go to the hospital if anybody died from in the hospital to even see that person, to sit with that person. They couldn't do it. So there's lots of feelings of feeling. There's guilt that comes up. What could I have done differently? There's nothing you could have done differently. You didn't make that choice. Somebody else made that choice for you. So consequently, to take a look at your feelings are very important, and allow yourself to feel those feelings. If you block them or you repress them or you get so overly busy, you do yourself a disservice. Allow those feelings. And there's Kubler's Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She has 5 or 7 stages of grief. You're going to go through, I say to somebody, you want me to go through the stages of grief? By the time I've gone through one, you're already in another one, because they come and go and come and go. You want to make sure that you don't have a flooding of feelings. You want to make sure that you can take a look at it. I'm sad. I'm angry. I miss them. Do all those things. I went to a Shiva on Zoom. There were about 90 people on the Shiva. It was unbelievable. Then they had a Shiva the next day. It was fascinating to me. Very sad that that person passed away, but to see all those people supporting people, and still some of those people were allowed, they sent in some food and people allowed that, but we were all there to sort of go through it with them. So this is a wonderful way of doing it. It's just that it's not the way we're used to.
Right.
So it doesn't feel the same.
And Rabbi Jen and I also are looking at doing a special support group for anyone who has lost someone to COVID during this time. So look for that. That will be coming hopefully in the next few weeks. And just remember, everyone, this is temporary. We're going to get out of this.
Absolutely.
Try and just remember that, and be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other. Don't be so hard on yourselves. All of those great tools that Diane gave us, that I know all of us are going to be sticking our faces in ice cubes.
No, cold water, Kari.
I know.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody that came and participated and asked questions, because questions make us think about things that maybe we didn't discuss. I want to thank you all, and thank you all for doing the best that you can.
Amen.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.